Frank Duffy. We just did sidelines. Now we're doing goal to go. Frank is in Lake Pontchartrain down there on the shores in God's country, Louisiana. And Frank, we're talking about topics on today's show. There are so many, but you can't help but talk about the outdoor life in Louisiana before we get into Lane Kiffin, the portal, the quarterback situation. But you have come to the altar of duck hunting. You've seen it. You're hooked. Kind of shed a little light on your friends that have introduced you to it because they're all tigers.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, my good buddy David Phillips introduced me to this. In fact, remember we did the show where I made the call of Lane coming to LSU. We were 3 weeks before it officially happened. We were at David Phillips' hunting camp. Now, his camp is a big, beautiful house that had everything where literally you can stumble into the water if you walk a little bit too far right there on the bayou. But we drive a little way. We get in his pirogue skiff with the motor on the back, go about, 2 miles through the cypress, through the trees into a wood hole that they have flooded for the ducks. And my very first hunting experience that morning, it was the very first morning of hunting in that section of Louisiana. And I had never duck hunted before, which is crazy for a guy from New Orleans. And so they're going over everything with me. They're giving me my instructions. I've gotten my user friendly camouflage jacket, my camouflage hat. He's handed me his Beretta, his second Beretta. They're showing me how to put the shells in. I said, I'm a pretty decent shot. I'll see what I can do. And so we get out there. And by the way, his blind has everything, Coleman stoves, even a commode. I mean, it's just top notch, man. It is well. And we walk out to the hunting area where we've got our 4 little inserts. And then, he's like, you're on the right side. You're shooting anything from here on over to the side. And so the season started officially at 6:08 in the morning. And I am not kidding you, Rob. At 6:08, I hear behind me on the right side coming over. These 3 wood ducks are coming over, and they're going straight away from us. You can barely see it. It's like gray, dark gray. And I said, well, hell, I was supposed to be out here shooting. I go up there. I raise my shotgun, my 12 gauge. One shot, I dropped the wood duck at 50 yards over the freaking tree line. This thing goes down, and all I look over at my 3 new compadres, and they're looking at me. Their mouths were so wide open, like, what in the hell did we just see? And my good buddy, Martin Patio, sitting next to me, goes, I don't even think he had his eyes open. But then he goes, what did y'all tell him to do? Of course he came out here to shoot. But here was the best part, Rob. Here was the coolest part. There was not another shotgun blast in the 20 or so holes that were around us, maybe like a 3 mile by 3 mile section where all these leases were. There was not another shot for 10 minutes. So I shot the very first shot, a newbie, never had shot at ducks before, drops a wood duck 50 yards away, and there's not another shot for 10 minutes. And that's when the second shot rang. Incredible. So this weekend, I go back to my buddy. And so I'm invited up by my good friend, Billy Rose, great LSU Tiger. In fact, he was out at my tailgate when we went out to UCLA a couple of years back. And he brings me to Lac Cassin, which is this incredible duck hunting camp right near Lake Arthur. And when I turned off of I-10, I didn't think there was this many ducks in the world. It was amazing the amount of ducks in Southwest Louisiana. And so we go out in the morning, and again, the same routine. This is my second duck hunt. And I'm telling you, at one point, come across these 2 wood ducks, and then out of nowhere, I take aim. Excuse me, not wood ducks, teal. The little bitty just buzzsaws flying.
Oh yeah.
And look, I shot. I've dropped 2 with 1 shot. I hit a double, and the reason that I know that it's verified, and he joked with me about that. He goes, all of our breeches were empty. They were out. They were reloading. So he goes, sometimes people claim doubles and they don't get them. He goes, that was an official double. But I love it. It's awesome, man.
It really is. And you talk a lot of football when we're out there.
Absolutely.
For the record, I've hit 3 doubles in my life. 1 shot, 2. It was once with green wing teal and twice with gadwalls. It just almost never happens. Frank, let's talk about this monumental shift in LSU's recruiting, the portal,
Yep.
high school, whatever. You talked on the show just before this on Sidelines. You didn't have any quarterbacks a few days ago. You're going after the guy at Washington Williams. You get Levitt. I mean, Lane Kiffin is already earning his paychecks with what he's done. But also, you talked about there's going to be more of a shift toward high school versus having 2/3 of your roster from the portal. Kind of dig into that and make a case for it.
I think you're going to have to do that, especially with Louisiana talent. Again, speaking of quarterbacks, this is our 15th Goal to Go show in honor of Matt Flynn, our quarterback on our 2007 LSU National Championship year. In fact, our producer, Brendan Martin, big Gator guy, I hate to bring this up, but his partner in crime, Jacob Hester, our running back, who is now the color analyst for LSU Radio, took over for Doug Morrow, was, of course, instrumental in that game against Florida in 2007 when we beat Tebow in Tiger Stadium. Les Miles and Crazy Les and his 4 fourth down plays on that one drive getting into the end zone. Well, Jacob and Matt are actually, they have their own show on ESPN Radio in Baton Rouge where our good buddy Matt Moscona is on as well. So, again, Matt Flynn, great Tiger, winning a national championship with 2 losses, coming back after that double overtime loss to our good buddy McFadden and the Razorbacks. An amazing 7 things had to happen on championship game, but it got Matt Flynn and the Tigers in. And by the way, I think he just threw another tight end touchdown against Ohio State in the Superdome. But no, you're right. Talking about LSU quarterbacks, we went Lane Kiffin, and what he did this past week in a 48-hour time period is nothing more than just miraculous if you're a Tiger fan. It's unbelievable if you're just a college football fan, and it is just a death knell to others that we're going to be playing against this year, because Lane went from 0 quarterbacks on the scholarship quarterbacks on our roster to 3 immediately. The amazing thing, you're right, trying to get Williams out of Washington, we think that's what kind of caused the problem with Levitt early on. Again, the number 1 transfer portal quarterback from Arizona State. We think that's what cooled it. That's what made him decide to go to Knoxville to talk to the Volunteers to see what they had to offer. And I'm going to tell you a little cool story about how he snuck in there to Knoxville to do that. Never has there been more attention to an airport since Philip Fulmer got served when he went to play Alabama about a decade and a half ago. Again, a little intrigue at our airports, not to be confused with the Petrino Tommy Tuberville incident.
Jetgate
on the planes, right? So we went from 0 quarterbacks to 3. One of them being the top transfer portal quarterback, which was huge, right? And so, but what got it back into play was, Lane got on a plane. He got on the LSU jet, flew into Knoxville, under the cover of darkness. SEAL Team Kiff, as we're calling him, went in, made the offer, and we inked him. And let me tell you, this kid, Sam Levitt, we've done pretty good with these transfers from Arizona State. The last one we brought in won a Heisman, Jaden Daniels. And let me tell you, the kid is a winner. We have to worry about his Liz Frank injury. I am hearing that he is not going to be available for the spring. He's not going to have that availability. He won't be available until the summer when the regular practice kicks off. But something tells me, there's a good chance that he could be out there. And if not, he's going to be out there soaking up Lane Kiffin's offense during the spring, so that when we do go to battle in August and start doing the practices, he'll be good to go. And I'm telling you, his feet are incredible. I've watched footage of him tucking the ball at Arizona State, and let me tell you, that kid is white lightning. He can fly with the ball. And, I think with the offense that we're putting in, now here's the big problem. Here's the rub. And again, I can't whistle past the graveyard. We still had a horrible offensive line, Rob, horrible. And we got 2 returners from last year, but we got to fill 3 spots, and we have not done that yet. I'm in all honesty, look, I see the world through purple-colored glasses and gold glasses, as you see from our beautiful set that Brendan has put on for us. But make no mistake, we have a lot of work left to do before this transfer portal closes. Now, again, the good news is, even if the transfer portal closes, you can still work on your team. And we've got money. We're at 31 transfers right now. I think we can add another 7 to 9 before it's done. Now, to your question, though, you cannot sustain a program with that. And I know Lane is smart enough to know that. With our fertile recruiting ground here in Louisiana, we're going to have to flip the script on that. We're going to have to get to a point where we're keeping our in-state talent. And I have no doubt that he's going to be a much better recruiter than Brian Kelly. Because like we mentioned off air, Brian Kelly never got Louisiana. He was never welcoming to our high school coaches, never, in his 3.5 years of coaching here. It was like and look, he was not receptive to our former players and our former coaches. And don't forget, they still have their tentacles out in Louisiana high schools. You think you're not going to, welcome back a Herb Tyler or a Odell Beckham Jr. when they've got tentacles here, or a Tyrann Mathieu to St. Aug? Are you kidding me? So I know Lane's going to bolster the recruiting back end, but it's got to flip. Instead of it being 60% portal and 40% recruiting, I think it needs to be the other way, and I think he's smart enough to do that. Now, I would be remiss, Rob, if I didn't talk about an incredible poll we just did. We picked a 5-star quarterback, Hussein Longstreet, out of USC. The kid was a blue chipper. He played, he was like 15 out of 17 for the Trojans this year, 180 yards or whatever, in passing. Ran for 2 touchdowns, hardly ever saw the field. This kid's a stud. And so he's our long-term play. And look, he was still willing after seeing Sam Levitt sign. He goes, I want to get in on that Lane Kiffin. And he is a prototype. He's a Trinidad Chambliss type player that Lane, had been working. And so to commit, when you know that, Sam Levitt just signed 2 days before, that shows me something. That shows me that these transfer portal kids and these recruits are seeing that Lane Kiffin is a program maker. And with all due respect to our friends over in Ole Miss at Oxford, I'm sorry. Lane Kiffin built what you had this year. You can spin it as many ways as you want. Yancey, I love you.
No, they've not said that at all.
Yeah. I know, but I'm saying all my Ole Miss buddies that have said we're going to be fine. Again, Lane Kiffin was the architect of all of that. And look, there's already some bad blood. We talked about it on the main show. They're accusing Lane of disclosing what the NIL money was.
Yeah,
Rob, can you speak to that? You even heard that through all your contacts.
I really have not heard a lot about that, but I know that everybody at Ole Miss that I've talked with, of course, Lane Kiffin, great coach, great play caller, built it. Now, what they better do is have enough of that culture intact to where they can continue and move on from there. Because if you look around in college football, what happens when a coach leaves and then you get into the playoffs, it goes one or two ways. It's a disaster or it's a great story. Ole Miss was a great story, and it really went down to that last drive with Trinidad Chambliss. They came up short. But back on LSU, and I think Frank's phone went out. But, Brendan, you look at what Lane Kiffin's doing. Frank Wilson was the running backs coach at LSU, and their running backs for the last few years have been horrible. But it starts with the offensive line. And I don't know where Pro Football Focus comes up with some of the stuff they come up with. But, my God, to say LSU last year in 2024 had 2 of the top offensive linemen, I don't know. They have not hit their numbers, hit their goals. But it's not just LSU. Poor offensive line play is an epidemic. It's nationally because the lack of continuity. Bartu talks about it on our show, Brendan. You know it. Everybody knows it. It is so hard when guys are coming in there for the spring, taking the reps with the number ones, and then they leave. As Cole Kubelik famously said, those are stolen reps. And it's very hard, if not impossible, to overcome that. 2 years is about what any offensive line coach will tell you is the amount of time it takes to pull an offensive line together. And you're getting these kids for maybe a semester, and then they bolt out and they leave you. But LSU, what Lane Kiffin is doing, if he does go 55, 60% high school and only 40, 45% portal, the talent, there's just more of it. There's a lot in Mississippi. There's even more in Louisiana. But LSU, they're a national brand. Ole Miss is recruiting from all over the place. I think what Lane Kiffin's done is he's come in there and he's now got his people there. They're through coaching at Ole Miss. What they did going up to Knoxville to get Levitt, flying up there, shows you just how aggressive he is. He's going to have a better depth probably on the defensive line. That was the downfall of Ole Miss this year. They were 65th in the nation against stopping the run. They got into that battle against Miami, and that's what hurt them. But I see LSU, the program, Todd Graves, we know about Todd Graves and the money from Raising Cane's, Frank, and we got you back. There's a lot of it, but there's a lot more. The Pennington School of Chemical Engineering at LSU is a huge incubator, of wealthy people, gas, oil, and natural gas. That is huge in the state of Louisiana, just like it is in Texas. For whatever reason, Frank, people don't talk about it as much in Louisiana. But when you go to New Orleans and you go out on the Gulf Coast, you will see it everywhere. But, Frank, while you were gone, I was just talking about the great job that Lane Kiffin and the staff have done. Now that he's got everybody together, Frank Wilson's gone. But the last few years, Frank Wilson, regarded as a great running backs coach, their running backs slipped off of a cliff, but it starts with half-ass pajama football offensive line play.
It's
not just at LSU, but it's everywhere in the country because these kids are coming and going. It's a lack of continuity that hurts everyone.
Yeah, Frank is a great recruiter. That's the loss of Frank Wilson recruiting out of New Orleans. But as far as our running back play, you're right. Our running back room has been substandard for the last 5 years. Even, really, Clyde Edwards-Helaire was the last great running back, in my opinion, who, by the way, you and I both have said is the unsung heart and soul of that 2019 season. As great talent as we had at our wide receivers and quarterback, man, it was that running back, especially that game against Alabama. When you drag an Alabama linebacker, 11 yards on a 3rd and 10 in a crucial drive late in the fourth quarter, and that's what seals it, you've done something. But no, you're right. Losing him it only is going to hurt during the recruiting. But the big thing is we've got to get LSU's offensive line back. I'm great friends with Lance Smith, former All-American at LSU, good friend of mine. And all this whole year, he and I went down to the field, then went up to the Taft Suites for the South Carolina game and the A&M game. I was down on the field for that as well. And Lance said the one word that kept coming up about LSU's offensive line was soft. And you can't have that, Look, our 2019 offensive line, that great season, won the Moore Award, okay? Yeah. So, it's not luck or happenstance or coincidence that when you have an incredible season, no different than the Indiana team, their great offensive line, you've got to have that line play to be, have true success in a season. And that's what LSU has to get back to. And that's all I was saying. That's the one thing that we haven't really done yet in the portal. We've picked up, great defensive pieces. We've picked up, obviously, 3 quarterbacks in the quarterback room. And by the way, I haven't even talked about Landon Clark yet, the kid from Elon. He's the third guy, the least talked about quarterback. Rob, I saw that kid in footage throw a Jamarcus Russell type pass. It was 70 yards flat-footed. So if we ever get down tight and need a Hail Mary from our own 30-yard line, that kid can hit the other end zone. So, but no, it starts and ends with line play in the SEC. And by the way, that might also be a little reason why we haven't had an SEC team in the last 3 national championship games as well. Because with NIL and with the transfer portal, you've got a lot of offensive line talent that's going and playing at other places. You're not seeing the depth at a Georgia or an Alabama, that you've seen in the past. Certainly not at LSU.
Yeah.
So that's critically something that has to change. That has to be addressed in the SEC.
Frank, if you've ever had a vegetable garden, we all have. If you go out and pull up the tomato or the okra or the squash by the roots every day to check its progress, it's not going to get anywhere. That's right. What's happening with offensive line play. And you talk about Lance Smith. What a badass out of Kannapolis, North Carolina. Yep. I remember him very well. Hell of a player. But they're right about the soft play. Matt Stinscombe, we had him on the show, talked about pajama football. These damn 7-on-7 camps. It's all about the skill players. You know what? You can have the best wide receiver room in the country and go 5-7. I mean, that's what happened. Look at the garbage product that Hugh Freeze put out on the field. Lane Kiffin, mark my word, at LSU. His receiver room, whoever these guys are, some of them you've never heard of, will dominate. That's what he does.
Correct.
Potential is nothing. What matters is what are you willing to do? Lane Kiffin leaving under the cover of darkness, special ops mission, goes to Knoxville. I mean, they hate him. You know they hate him even more than Lane Kiffin, do not ever go to Knoxville without security.
Hey, let me tell you something. If there was going to be 4 semi-trucks full of French's mustard containers when LSU plays Tennessee, yeah, I can assure you there's going to be 5 of them now. They will have doubled down on the mustard containers. Hey, I just got to worry about the golf balls.
Yeah, somebody's going to pay for a mustard drone to fly over during the game. It's going to be so crazy. But isn't that what we love about college football? No. Well, it is absolutely what we love about college football. Lane Kiffin has got the LSU fan base so excited, and they ought to be. But we talked about it earlier on the first show, the SEC not winning the national championship 2 years in a row, and it's going to be 3 years in a row. And it's going to start with offensive line play. But LSU folks, what they're doing with Lane Kiffin and that staff, he's got everybody together now, and you've got everybody at LSU for the first time in a long time. Seems like they are aligned. Okay, so look, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up today. Great show. Executive producer Brendan Martin, the best in the business. Come back to this channel and watch us. This is show number 15 for Gold to Go with Frank Duffy. To all you LSU folks out there, we love you. We want you to come back. Have fun in the marsh this weekend duck hunting. Hello, Tanner Stein down in DeRidder. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you.